Have you ever felt the frustration of unclear roles at work that ultimately derailed work productivity and then ultimately led to performance issues at the current tasks that are needed that you were actually hired to complete? In my professional career, I've actually experienced this particular phenomenon just as much as any other professional. And oftentimes I had to navigate how to actually address this and ensure that the teammates and I both understood what are our roles and how do we move work initiatives forward. It was a staggering study that showed that 50% of employees, no matter what organization or what industry, all lack clarity in their roles. That is so atrocious, to be honest, because not understanding what you do and what you're supposed to do is not going to help you do your job effectively. So in this video, we're going to actually address how to improve understanding of roles and responsibilities in the work environment. But before we get started, please, if you like the channel and you like the video, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel. I put out videos like this every Friday, and it is very important that you subscribe and also like, because it'll help my channel reach other professionals similar to yourself. And it'll also help me continue to do content just as this, so that it can help you and anyone else. But with that said, and without further ado, let's jump right in. So for those who have not actually felt the frustration of what it is to, be unclear at work when it comes to your role, you might be thinking, well, what is a little bit of role confusion? Somebody's going to get the work done. And the truth is that if everybody does everything, then no one owns anything. And that being said, doesn't really align with how companies and your individuals within those companies should be addressing their work. And I say that because you're hired for a reason. Each team member needs a specific role to carry out specific tasks. And if those tasks are being muddied and unclear, you're going to run into a couple of issues that may derail work initiatives. So one thing you're going to see is that when there is no clear role delineation between team members, is that you're going to actually see a drop in productivity and functionality. And that, my friend, is happening because either folks don't know what to do, or folks are either stepping on each other's toes, or someone is doing something they're not supposed to do instead of the thing that they're actually supposed to do, that you got hired to do. And that will affect the job and the work initiative that you're pushing forward. Another thing that you're going to see, and another problem that will arise when roles are unclear, is that you're going to start to see some of your projects either failing or being delayed, or tasks that people are just forgetting to do simply because no one knew who was the person to actually carry out that task. Then, of course, this is going to start to ultimately impact the well-being of the employee who's there, whether it's them feeling more motivated to come into work or feeling a little bit frustrated that they can't figure out, am I doing something right? Am I doing my role right? Am I living up to the thing that I have set out to do or have been hired to do? Feeling like that can oftentimes affect how that employee shows up, and then ultimately it affects work performance. Then what comes after all of those things? The reality is that there are going to be some conflicts that arise between team members. There's going to be a struggle to collaborate effectively. Team members are just not going to be able to come together and truly work on those initiatives and get them done effectively, leading to, like I said, project failure, project delay, or just things that are being forgotten to do. This is not good for you or your organization, simply because it'll start to lead to high turnovers among employees, and then also start affecting the new employees coming in. Because as a new employee comes in and they're seeing high turnover, the first thing they're going to start thinking is, why is everyone wanting to leave and exit? And what is the problem? And eventually there's a game that no one wants to play, and it's called the blame game, where you're pointing fingers at, well, this person didn't do this and this person didn't do that. When if everyone simply owned their roles and their responsibilities, it'll help them further their progress, but also track what they're actually supposed to be doing, so no one has to play the blame game. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do. So in the off chance that this is something that sounds familiar to you and your organization, you might want to start just taking a look at how a role is understood by your employees. What is it that you need to do to ensure that they simply get what they need to do? And it's not just a job description, it's not just words on a paper. Sometimes it goes a little bit deeper than just what you document and write down. Documentation is fine, but not understanding that documentation doesn't help anyone. There was actually a McKinsey study that showed that 40% of their respondents actually pointed to unclear roles as an issue as to what was impacting work efficiency. So what I'm saying here is not new, it's not rocket science, it's simply what happens when roles are unclear. So what do we need to do about it? We need to address it. We need to figure out how to ensure that our team members understand their roles effectively so that they can be the best versions of themselves when they come into work. Now that we understand the problem, what do we actually do about addressing this in our work organizations? And the first thing is that we actually need to start talking to our team members. Start getting a grasp of who is feeling what when it comes to their role. Meaning you got to sit down, have those one-on-ones, have conversations, and just ask folks, hey, how are you feeling about your role? Do you feel like your roles and responsibility is clear? Are there any overlaps between you and maybe your partner or someone else on your team? And are y'all constantly having to figure out what is it that I do versus what is it that you do? Or are there things that you feel like there are gaps in the employment role that you have, where there's just some things that are just not accounted for or are falling along the wayside that you may need to actually add or address and say, hey, this is actually somebody else's thing to do, or it's yours. You know, finding out and having those conversations is the best way for you to start addressing the issues with roles and responsibilities. The next thing that you want to do is just sit down and start reviewing some of the previous documentation on those roles and responsibilities. That could be job descriptions, that could be trainings, that could be any materials that you put out that help people delineate roles. And start going through what are some of the overlaps, what are some of the things that you kind of had to go ask that team member to find out. Is it written in the bylaws, so to speak, when it comes to the job description? Is it known, or is it unexplicitly understood that this is what this is and this is what's causing that unclear understanding of roles? After looking at those documentation, you want to start getting a sense of what the actual work initiatives are in your organization, or what are some of the projects that you're working on. Identifying what the projects are will give you a better understanding as to what are some of the roles you might need, what are the responsibilities you might need, who needs to do what, and then you can even delineate that way, where it's like, okay, I need a person to account manage. That means I want this person to go out there and continue to make great relationships with the current clients we have to ensure that we bring in business. I can't have this person focusing on moving projects forward, because if they're focusing on moving projects forward, chances are they're not focusing on building that connection with the client. That is something that you have to start thinking about as to what those work initiatives are and what you really need those roles for. So if you're not able to do that, I guarantee you're going to find yourself with employees and workers and teammates who don't know their roles, and therefore things are falling by the wayside. The whole point is we want to make sure our team members are as efficient as possible. Then, of course, you want to document your findings. Document it. Just put it down. Write it. If it lives in your head, it lives nowhere. If it's not written, it never happened. Similar to like the video culture. If it's not on video, it never happened. You have to document it, because you can pass those documents on. You can ensure that it's repeatable and that it is consistent across all boards when you need it to be, because you simply documented it and was able to provide that information to the rest of the team. But don't just stop there. Don't stop at just saying, I documented it, now it's all good, everyone can just go read the job description. Wrong. You need to come up with an implementation plan. You need to sit down and figure out, how am I going to implement this particular strategy, a new way of role delineation amongst team members? What conversations am I going to have? Am I going to include them in the changing of those roles? Do we do a race chart where we figure out who's responsible for what? What tools and techniques are you going to actually use to ensure that your roles are properly delineated and that everyone has an understanding of those roles? And then you have to make a plan to actually start doing those roles. You can't say, yeah, we're going to change into this particular space where this person is going to do X and the other person is going to do Y, but never show them what that looks like and then provide training. Because you have to train them on what it is that they're going to need to do. Even if it's a hour training or if it's a Zoom call, whatever it is, find a way to help uplift your employees and your workers or your teammates into properly living in their role, especially when this role changes. Now that you gotten your implementation plan done, and now that you're actually putting this into effect with your team and have actually worked alongside your team, provided them training, provided them documentation, walked them through the new roles, sit down with everyone to field their understanding of the new roles, you're going to need to monitor how those new roles actually perform in the duty that you're asking them to perform in. So you need to pay attention to, is this person actually doing the calls that I need them to make? Or is this person actually going out there and writing the web code that I need them to do? And what projects are they working on? What initiatives are they focused on? You're going to have to start monitoring those changes and just ensure that the changes are working out. Because sometimes you might be thinking, this is a great plan. We have a plan to change these roles and we want to move it forward. But because it wasn't executed properly, the plan fails simply because it wasn't executed properly. And you could have caught it by doing some reviews and talking to team members and finding out, is this really landing for what it is that you need it to? And they can tell you the honest truth. Yes, it is. No, it's not. I don't feel comfortable. Or, you know what? This is a whole wash. I'd rather not do this new role change. What we did before worked. But you won't find that out if you do not ask and follow up and just review the changes at hand. I provided you with the problems that it actually leads to when it comes to unclear roles, and then a plan to start addressing those unclear roles and identifying whether you actually have that issue amongst your teammates and amongst your organization. So now that you have that information, if you're a professional that are also seeking to figure out how to make sure that this role lands for you or that things are aligned for you and your teammates, you should also have those conversations with your teammates. I've been in a position where I had to figure out how to have that conversation with a teammate who we're stepping on each other's toes and we can feel it. Every moment I'm doing something and they're doing it too. We're sending out the same emails at the same time. We're having same conversations, but our role titles are different. And we're like, who's stepping on who? Why we're stepping on each other's toes? And not having that conversation would have continued down the wrong path, because therefore there's clearly some work not being done if the two roles are doing the same thing and we're two different roles. So having that conversation, we're able to find out and figure out what is the best way forward for us to continue to work together and partner together. And implementing the strategies that I mentioned will work just the same. Go over the steps, review with your teammate, have a conversation about who does what, review whether that's working, review whether that actually aligns with the job description and what higher ups actually had in mind for your roles. And then continue to be curious, continue to monitor, continue to watch it, and continue to make sure that you and your teammates are working together, that everyone stays in their role and in their delineations. That was just a bonus tip. So I hope this video was helpful. I had a blast talking to you guys. I've been there where it's unclear roles can truly dramatically affect work performance. And I understand how it can feel when it comes to fighting those battles between teammates. So I hope this video helps you to navigate those spaces and navigate those conversations really well. I am very excited to continue to talk to you guys about different topics similar to this. So if you like the content, please like the video and please subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I appreciate you for watching all the way to the end. Thank you for your time, and I will truly catch you on the next one. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you again.